Good evening, this is Tam Wendell with Bushcraft on Fire, and today, as promised, I'll be doing a video on making cottage cheese. And what you're looking at here is tonight's milking. It was a pretty good milking. This one container holds 3.5 gallons and the one beside it 1.5 gallons. So you can see how quickly we accumulate milk here, so we're also busy making a lot of cheese. So without further ado, I'm going to be using this milk and putting it into a pan and bringing it up to 90 degrees. For making cottage cheese, I'm showing you the ingredients we use. I'll be using a 1/2 teaspoon of culture. Now you can use buttermilk or your choice of culture. I got this one from a friend. There's various cultures you can buy online at cheese making supplies. Then I will also be using something called calcium chloride. I don't know if I can show you this label here. But if you use 6 ounces out of this big jar full, you can use it for 1,000 pounds of milk. So in other words, this is going to last me a really long time. Alright, and then salt, and you add your ingredients to cool water. So I already put my calcium chloride in this 1/2 cup of cool water, and when the time comes to add rennet, I'll fill the cup up again with a 1/2 cup of cool water and use the rennet. Now this is the rennet we used in the last recipe as well. Liquid rennet. It's a vegetarian rennet. So those are the ingredients that we use in making cottage cheese. My thermometer shows me the cheese is 90-91, so now it's time for me to go ahead and add my calcium chloride. And of course the culture. The culture I'll just sprinkle on top of the milk, and the chloride I will mix into the milk. I just sort of drizzle the calcium chloride into the milk. Stir it around good. Just make sure that it gets evenly distributed around in the milk here. And then my next ingredient will be my culture, and I'll put in a 1/2 teaspoon, and all I do is just sprinkle that on the milk. At this point, what I'm going to do is remove my thermometer and my spoon. I'm going to turn off the oven. I'm going to put a lid on the pan, and I'm going to let it sit for an hour. So it's almost 9 o'clock, so we'll be back here at almost 10 o'clock. It's been an hour now, and there's really basically no change. It just looks like a couple gallons of milk. So here's where I'm going to pour in the rennet. And again, I don't add it too fast. Try to stir it in to get it evenly distributed across through all the milk. Do this about 30 seconds, just make sure you get a good mix through it. And here's where you're going to wait again. Cottage cheese is a cheese that takes time. I'm going to let it rest for a good 45 minutes, and we'll come back and take a look at it. Alright, this has been sitting for 20 minutes, so I still have another 25 minutes, but I'm sure you're curious like I was the first time I made it. I'll try to grab the thermometer here and show you. You can look where it's leaving the edge of the pan. It's really thick as I move this through it. That's what it's supposed to be doing. It'll just turn into one big mass. So we'll be back again in 25 minutes. I'm going to take the thermometer out. You can see it's coated with the cheese. Put that in the sink a minute. And if I spin the container, the pan, you should be able to see how all what's going to be the cottage cheese has taken on one big lump shape with the whey beside it. But that's still usable whey. I can still make ricotta with it. So now what I need to do is I kind of hold my finger on it to try to stop it from spinning. Use a long knife so you can go down to the bottom. And all you're going to do is cut. Now the smaller curds you want, you could go smaller than what I'm doing. But we don't mind cottage cheese that has a bit bigger curd in it. So I'm going across the whole pot. I've done that. Now I'll just give the pot a bit of a turn. And now I'm going to go the opposite way. Make sure you get down to the bottom. And it's going to allow the whey to go between all these lines here. When I'm done cutting, I'll let it sit for 5 minutes. And we'll come back and work on it some more. There you go. These are all individual little cylinders, if you will, the beginning stage of cottage cheese. So let it sit for 5 minutes and we'll be right back. Alright, 5 minutes are up. This is where you have to have nice clean hands. And what you're going to do is reach in. So, just sort of reach in and try to show you. You get these long cylinders and you just sort of break it up with your knife. And what I'm going to do is just go through the pot and take each one of these out at a time. Now if you think they're too big, just go through it like that. So you just continue like that till you've gone through the whole pot and you have nice squares. These are going to be your curds. The water was clear, but you'll see that the water will turn milky again as it pulls more whey out as it's chopped up. And what's happening is these are going to shrink. And I'm going to, once I'm done chopping, we're going to put it back on the element and we're going to bring it up real slow up to 115 and that'll set the curd. So I'll be back in just a bit once I'm done cutting all of these into curds. I've completed all the cutting, so you can see all the little bits of the cottage cheese, the curds, the different sizes. And what's going to happen as I put it over heat is they're going to actually shrink, and the reason they're shrinking is they're expelling the whey. That's what we want it to do. So I'll get it back on the stove and we'll get it up to 115. I've got the pot on the stove and I'm heating it up actually on the single burner because I want to heat it up very slowly. Slowly is the key. You want to have really good curds. So right now I'm sitting at 94 and I'm going to get it up to 115 and I'll be back then. We've reached 115, and what I did during this time is every 5 minutes or so give it a stir just to make sure that none of the curds stuck on the bottom. So you can see them in here. Next step is to remove the curds from the whey, and we'll be using this whey to make more ricotta. So you can use your whey from mozzarella cheese and from cottage cheese, but you can't use it when you're doing the farmer's cheese because you've already used vinegar to make the farmer's cheese. So it would just be too acidic. So it's time to get this drained. First thing I'm doing is just trying to get a bit of this whey off the top. If I lose any pieces in the bowl, I can always fish them out. It's a lot easier to do if I first remove this whey. Alright, that's about it for what I'm pouring off. So I'll remove this because I'm going to reuse that. And now, let's take the rest of the pot, pour that into my bandana, which is over top of a colander. When it sits, it tries to reform, so you got to keep it moving. So I'll pull this off. I'm trying to keep as much of the whey so I can reuse that part. If I wasn't planning to reuse it, well then I guess I could let it run down the drain, but that'd be such a waste. We have animals, and like I said, we can always make the ricotta cheese. Okay, I'm going to pull this one out, set this down in the sink. Now it's time to add cold water. I'm just going to sort of stir it up. I'm just removing the whey. And I sort of stir it around, let it drain while I'm doing it until the water is clear. Doesn't take long at all. If you look on the side here where the water's coming in, it's pretty well clear water now. So, at this stage, what I do is I just pull the bandana together. Turn the water off, of course. And as I did in the other videos, wrap my cord around it. Always keep my cord handy. Things are never quite as simple when you're on camera. Clip the cord, tighten it up. And we're going to let this hang till it stops dripping, and I'll show you the next step.